So we are taking government to court on that. The public participation process on the bill that's currently open must definitely be questioned and challenged.
We do understand that the Minister of Health, Dr. Joe Patla, has extended the period of public comments on health regulations relating to the surveillance and the control of notifiable medical conditions. We do know that the new closing date for submissions of comments is now the 5th of July.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Joe Emilio Show. I'm your host, Joe Emilio. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of confusion with what's been happening in South Africa. First, we had provisional regulations. Now we have limited regulations. Some of these regulations are law and some of them aren't. And at the same time, there's been extensions to some of these regulations or all of these regulations. Nobody knows what's going on. So, I brought onto the show, once again, the one man that I know for a fact will know what is going on, and that is Rob Hutchinson from DearSA. Rob, welcome back to the show. We thought maybe we'd heard the end of this whole Health Act situation, but clearly we haven't. Can you just clarify for everybody watching what exactly is going on?
Cool. Thanks for having me on again, Joe. There is major confusion around what is going on here, and some sources and through our investigation has revealed that it might actually be deliberate confusion towards the public. There are two sets of regulations currently. The one was introduced last night, and that is what they're calling limited regulations, which they've introduced without any public consultation process as required in the Health Act. These limited regulations fall underneath the Health Act, which is a permanent piece of legislation, which means that the so-called limited regulations are in fact permanent if they are underneath the Health Act. And those are basically the exact same as the interim regulations, which are introduced after the state of disaster lapsed, and they are now, as I said, permanent. In the meanwhile, we have the draft regulations, which have been open for public comment now for over a month, and those have been they are still open for public comment. They haven't been adopted. They're still in draft version, and those are out for public comment now after the minister actually granted an extension. So it does appear that there is a bit of a deliberate confusion here, because on the one hand we have draft regulations, and on the other hand we have permanent regulations which have already been implemented underneath in terms of the Health Act.
So basically, just in layman's terms, and in the simplest way we can explain it, is that basically there was, after Cyril made his speech last month, there was those 1 month interim regulations, provisional regulations as they called them, and now those regulations have been basically put into law, and nobody's been allowed to really comment on those regulations. But at the same time, there were amendments to the Health Act, which has a whole plethora of regulations. Some of them are those like interim regulations, but a lot more is being proposed to be amended to the Health Act, and that's the one that's been extended. So it's it's kind of difficult to grasp your mind around it, really. But at the same time, I think what's important for people to understand at the moment is that, yes, the ANC has basically done what they wanted to do, and they are at the moment almost producing this charade of democracy, saying like, hey, you guys can still comment, but we're still going to do what we want to do. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And it's actually working out in our favor, because government is clearly doesn't know what they're doing on this. They've realized they've made a big mistake right from the get-go. The public participation process is without doubt flawed, right down to the very core. We've seen deleted emails. We've got evidence of that. And the good point here is that the minister has actually said that every single public comment or submission presented in its individual form will be considered and acknowledged by the department before they finalize the draft regulations. So that means we've so far sent 283,000 comments through. Each one of those will have to be individually comment, read, assessed, and so on. And they need to show proof of that. If we send another 300,000, then same thing again. They'll have to show proof of considering each and every single one of them, which, Joe, could actually take months. And for that reason, we definitely encourage the public to have their say. If they have anything additional to add to the original comment, go for it. Go for it. Use the platform. We record it, so there's absolute evidence, and have your say. There's no doubt public participation in this case definitely creates impact.
Rob, I do have an important question to ask you. With this now, again, this confusion, and now there's limited regulations that have now been implemented into law and all that stuff, and you mentioning, this is not constitutional, this is not right. The commenting or public comment process has completely been shambles. What is DearSA's next step?
Well, as we are committed to fair and just and proper public consultation and public participation, we feel it's in our duty to enact on that. The public participation process is clearly flawed. We've seen deleted emails. We've seen the government hasn't acknowledged many of the comments that have gone through. So we are taking government to court on that. The public participation process on the bill that's currently open must definitely be questioned and challenged. And not only that, but the adoption of the current regulations, the limited regulations, will also be challenged, as the Health Act clearly states that any amendments to regulations must also undergo a proper public consultation period for 30 days, or in exceptional cases, a lesser amount than that. There's been no such form. So we're actually filing papers tomorrow, being Friday, and then we will definitely keep the public informed as to developments on that.
In other words, this will not be the last time we will see you on the show.
Definitely not. Definitely not. We should be in court quite soon on that,
Fantastic.
as it is a fairly important matter. And hopefully, if we, or should I say, when we are successful, let's be positive here, then the regulations will be put on review or set aside or withdrawn, and it'll all be for the benefit of the public here.
Yeah, and speaking of legal action, I'm sure you're aware of Advocate Savello, who's also been,
Yes.
he was on my show recently, and he spoke about his court case and his fight. Basically, his argument was that the public deserved more than 30 days to comment. It seems like that's been rewarded, and I use that
Yes.
word loosely there. And I understand that DearSA also had arguments to extend the 30 days, because you guys also believe that the public deserved at least 90 days to comment. And I guess what I'm trying to say and ask here is, it seems, contrary to what some public may think, it really does seem that public pressure really does work. You can say what you want about the ANC right now by pulling off this kind of charade and trying to put things or sneak things in, but at the end of the day, we did get an extension, and I think that says something about public pressure.
Absolutely, Joe. I could not agree with you more. And to be honest, that is the whole point of a participative democracy. We don't just go and vote once every 4 years. We actually get involved in the process and the policy formation, and every action that government takes must undergo public oversight and scrutiny and so on. Of course, our leaders aren't leaders; they're in fact public servants, and we are meant to guide them within our democracy. They represent us, and therefore we actually lead them into making the correct decisions. If we don't get involved, if we don't keep them under pressure, then we have to expect things to go wrong. So I think this is a wonderful and brilliant case or example of the power of public participation creating pressure to influence government decisions.
All right, Rob. Well, that's all the time we have for today. As I mentioned earlier, we'll definitely keep an eye on this story. I'm sure I'll have you back on the show when you guys start your court proceedings and hopefully get an update as things progress. I wish you guys the best of luck. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, you guys can comment on the amendments to the Health Act in the link in the description below. Once again, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you, Joe. Always a pleasure.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to please share this video far and wide so that people can understand what exactly is going on and so that people can see that DearSA is not taking this laying down and they are taking the ANC to court. And as always, I'll keep a close eye on this story. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.